Adora thought the worst thing Miho ever did was hold her back in silence, until she realized he didn't just block her promotions. He planted her under him like a secret he could control. Now she's in Seoul's most powerful company, working directly under Jun Kong, a billionaire CEO who doesn't smile, doesn't forgive mistakes, and doesn't let anyone get close. Yet somehow, he's watching her like he's trying to decide whether to protect her or destroy her. But the real danger isn't the pressure or the rumors, or the fact that the whole office is starting to whisper her name like a scandal waiting to happen. The real danger is the twist coming when the man who betrayed her returns, and the man who wants her finally speaks, because one public sentence will either save Adora's name or ruin her forever. So tell me, when the fire starts, who will stand with her and who will push her into it? Hey family, welcome to Moonlit Stories. If you enjoy deep love stories with shocking twists and real-life struggles, please subscribe to help us grow, and tell us which country you're watching from in the comments. Adora Okoye's fingers moved fast across her laptop as she made the final changes to the proposal. One last check. One last adjustment. One last sentence to make the idea land the way it should. When she clicked save, she didn't smile wide or stretch her hands to celebrate. She only breathed out slow, like someone who had trained herself not to expect anything. This was her fourth winning proposal in 1 quarter. Not just good work. Winning work. The kind of proposal that made clients say, "Yes, this is it," without too many questions. The kind that could raise numbers, build brand trust, and fix a campaign that was already dying. The kind that should have made her name shine on the list when promotions came. But Adora had stopped dreaming like that. She leaned back and stared at the screen for 2 seconds, then reached for her phone from the drawer where she kept it during work hours. She checked it like it was a habit, not like she was hoping for something. No message from any manager. No great job. No come to my office. Nothing. It didn't surprise her. 2 years in the company had taught her how this place worked. They loved her results. They loved her energy. They loved the way she stayed late without complaining and fixed problems other people created. But when it was time to reward someone, they always found a reason to skip her. Adora was Nigerian. She was also one of the youngest strategists on the floor. She had a soft accent that she tried to control when she was nervous. She didn't have powerful family connections in Seoul. She didn't drink with the right people after work. She didn't laugh too loud at the boss's jokes. She didn't flirt for favor. She just worked. And she worked like her life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. When she first moved to Seoul, she promised herself she would not come this far and end up stuck. She had left home with big dreams and a strong heart. She had told her mother, "I will make it, even if I have to start small." Her mother had cried on the call, proud and afraid at the same time. Adora remembered that voice on nights when she felt lonely. She remembered it every time she wanted to quit. So she didn't quit. She pushed harder. But lately, the pushing had started to feel like carrying water in a basket. No matter how many times she filled it, it never stayed full. A soft notification popped up on her screen. A calendar reminder, quarter review meeting, 4 p.m. Adora's stomach tightened slightly, then relaxed. She had trained herself to react like this meeting was nothing. She had trained herself to sit there with a calm face while they praised her work and gave the promotion to someone else. Again, she stood up to get water, and as she walked past a few desks, she noticed the same thing she always noticed. People were relaxed. People were chatting. People were laughing like they had time. Adora didn't. Not if she wanted to stay valuable. And she hated that truth. Adora. She turned. Jun, a junior associate, stood by the printer with a stack of papers in his hands. He was younger than most people there, always trying to look confident, always trying to learn fast. He smiled at her like he had been waiting to catch her attention. "You really did it again," Jun said, eyes wide like he was talking to a celebrity. "That proposal? The one for HJ Mobile? It's crazy good." Adora gave a small polite smile. "Thanks, Jun." "No, I'm serious," he rushed on. "I read the draft when it came in for formatting. The idea is clean. The numbers make sense. Even the tone is sharp. You have a gift." A gift. That word hit Adora like a small slap, even though Jun meant it as praise. A gift, but not valuable enough to promote. A gift, but still treated like a tool. A gift, but only useful when somebody needed to impress a client. She kept her face calm, because she was used to swallowing things like that. She tilted her head slightly and gave him the kind of answer that ended the conversation without being rude. "Thank you," she said again. Just keep learning. You'll get there. June nodded quickly, still smiling. You should be leading a whole team already. I don't get why they don't see it. Adora's smile stayed, but it didn't reach her eyes. If she spoke the truth, it would sound bitter. And she had promised herself she would never be the woman people called difficult. Not here. Not in this kind of office. So she only said, "It's fine." June looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. He just walked away, still shaking his head. Adora stood there for a moment after he left. Her hands were steady. Her face was normal. Anybody watching would think she was fine. But inside, something was burning. Not anger. Not jealousy. Just the tired pain of knowing you are giving your best to a place that keeps taking and taking, then acting like you should be grateful for the chance. She returned to her desk and sat down. Her eyes went back to the screen. Her fingers went back to the keyboard. Work was the only thing she could control. And if nobody would reward her, she would still build something with her own hands, until the day she found the door that finally opened. Adora kept typing even after June walked away, but the words on her screen started to blur. Not because she was tired, but because her mind kept replaying what he said. You should be leading a whole team already. She swallowed and forced herself back into focus. She opened the campaign file again, checked the numbers again, adjusted one line again. Busy work, the kind she did when she needed to feel in control. Then her phone buzzed inside the drawer. Adora hesitated for a second before opening it, as if she already knew what the message would do to her mood. When she pulled it out, the screen lit up with one name. Miho. A small warmth touched her chest before she could stop it. Miho, dinner tonight. I made reservations. You earned it, superstar. Adora stared at the message, and her lips curved into a real smile. Small, quick, but real. It annoyed her a little, how easily that one line softened her. But it also reminded her that not everything in her life was cold. She typed back, Adora, you're sweet. What time? The reply came fast. Miho, 8 p.m. Or something simple. I want you relaxed. Relaxed. Adora let out a quiet breath. She locked her phone and slid it back into the drawer, but her mind stayed on him. Miho Park was not just any man. In the office, he was respected and careful, always calm, always in control. He knew how to talk to executives and still sound humble. He knew how to make juniors feel seen without letting them get too close. People liked him because he never looked messy. And for 2 years, Miho had been her boyfriend. Also, for 2 years, Miho had been her direct boss. It started the first month Adora joined the company. She was new in Seoul, trying to understand the work culture, trying to speak up without sounding too strong, trying to prove she deserved her seat. Miho was the one who guided her. He corrected her work without humiliating her. He praised her in small ways when nobody was listening. He defended her ideas in meetings and said, "Let her finish." One day, after a stressful presentation, he offered to walk her out. He told her she was doing better than she thought. He told her she didn't have to fight so hard alone. That night, she cried in the taxi after he left, not because she was weak, but because somebody finally saw her. After that, it became late-night texts. Then late-night calls. Then dinners. Then love. At first, they told themselves it was temporary. They said they would be careful. They said they would separate work and feelings. They said it would not affect anything. But 2 years passed. 2 years of hiding. Their relationship had been a secret in the beginning. Tight guarded, locked behind small looks and careful distance. But secrets don't stay secret in an office full of sharp eyes. Adora knew people noticed. Not because Miho held her hand at work or kissed her in the hallway. He didn't. Miho was too smart for that. But there were other signs. He stayed by her desk for 1 extra second when he gave instructions. He called her name softer than he called other people. If she made a mistake, he corrected her privately, never publicly. If another manager tried to dump extra work on her, Miho stepped in fast and said, "Give it to someone else. Adora has priority tasks." And Adora was not innocent too. Her eyes followed him without meaning to. Her face softened when he entered a room. Her laugh became quieter, almost shy, when he said something teasing under his breath. Even when she tried to hide it, her body always reacted before her brain could stop it. That was why people whispered. Not loudly, not openly, but enough. Adora had heard it before in the break room, when she thought nobody noticed her standing near the door. Miho likes her too much. They're close, ABI. Don't be surprised if she gets promoted soon. The funny thing was the promotion never came. Instead, Adora kept working, kept winning, kept saving campaigns. And Miho kept telling her, "Your time will come." Lately, that line had started to taste bitter. Adora looked at the time. The quarter review meeting was getting closer. She should have been thinking about her performance notes and how to present herself. But her mind drifted to Miho again. Dinner. A reservation. A sweet message. He always did this when she looked drained. He always knew when to pull her out of her head. Yet, even with that comfort, something had been bothering her for weeks. It was not one big thing. It was small things that stacked up. Miho had been more careful lately. Not more loving, more controlled. He stopped sending voice notes. He stopped coming to her desk unless he had a reason. When she mentioned promotions, his answers became short. When she joked about them going public, he would smile but change the topic. And sometimes, when Adora was speaking in meetings, she caught a strange look in his eyes. Like he was watching her too closely, not with pride but with calculation. Adora didn't say anything. Because what would she say? "Are you hiding something from me?" Miho would deny it. He would call her emotional. He would say she was stressed. He would kiss her forehead and remind her they were fine. And Adora was tired of being the woman who always looked like she was complaining. So she kept quiet. She focused on work. But deep down, she could feel it. The same feeling she had when she was about to open a door and didn't know what would be behind it. Something was off. And the worst part was this. Adora wasn't sure if the danger was outside their relationship or inside it. When her screen flashed again with the reminder, quarter review meeting in 30 minutes, Adora sat up straight, closed her files, and took a slow breath. She slipped her phone back into her bag. Dinner could wait. First, she had to survive the office. And she had no idea that the office was already setting her up for pain. Adora walked out of the quarter review meeting with the same calm face she always wore, but her chest felt heavy. They had said the usual things. Great numbers. Strong performance. Reliable. Consistent. Then they moved on. No promotion talk. No timeline. No clear next step. Just soft praise that sounded good, but changed nothing. Back at her desk, she stared at her screen and tried to work, but the words in her head were louder than the ones on the page. Your time will come. Miho's voice. Soon. Another soft lie that had started to feel like a rope around her waist, pulling her back every time she tried to move forward. By evening, most people began to pack up. Chairs slid back. Bags zipped. Laptops closed. A few coworkers waved and said bye as they stepped out. June walked past Adora's desk again and paused. You're still here? I'm finishing something, Adora said. June frowned like he wanted to say more, then nodded and left. Adora watched the office thin out until only a few people remained. Then even those few disappeared. The quiet that followed felt too loud. She checked her phone. No new message from Miho. Dinner was supposed to be at 8. She should have felt excited. Instead, she felt restless. Adora opened a file and pretended to work. She adjusted a headline, then adjusted it back. She refreshed her email. She opened a spreadsheet just to close it. Her eyes kept drifting to the glass offices down the hall. Miho had said he had a call earlier. Maybe he was still working. Maybe he was with HR. The thought came sharply, and she didn't know why it bothered her so much. It was not strange for a manager to speak with HR. But Adora's body reacted like it was a warning. She stood up, picked her phone, and typed. Adora, are you still in the office? She waited. No reply. Adora's throat tightened. She told herself she was overthinking. Still, her feet moved without asking her permission. She walked toward the executive side of the floor, not too fast, not too slow, like she belonged there. Her heels made soft sounds on the polished floor. The lights above were still on. Security didn't stop her because she worked late often. Nobody questioned her because Adora was the kind of staff nobody ever imagined could be a problem. As she got closer, she noticed a door slightly open, one of the executive meeting rooms. Voices came out low but clear. Adora slowed. She didn't plan to listen. But then she heard Miho's voice. Her heart stopped for half a second. She moved closer, careful, almost holding her breath. Miho was speaking like he was explaining something important. She's good, he said. I know that, but I can't promote her. Adora froze. Inside the room, someone else spoke, calm and careful. HR. She recognized the tone, even if she couldn't place the exact person. Why not? The HR voice asked. Miho sighed like he was tired of the question. Because it complicates things if she moves up. She's under me. I need her to stay under me professionally. You understand. Adora's hand gripped the strap of her bag, so tight her fingers hurt. The HR voice paused, then spoke again softer. Miho, you know that's not okay. Miho didn't sound ashamed. He sounded annoyed. I've kept her from the shortlist, he continued. She's a team player, sure. But a promotion right now could affect my standing. The board already thinks I'm too emotionally involved. Adora's vision blurred for a second. Not because she was crying. Because everything inside her turned cold at once. He wasn't just saying, not now. He was saying he had been blocking her. On purpose. The HR voice came again, more firm now. This isn't sustainable. Adora deserves better than this. Miho gave a small laugh, like the whole thing was a boring problem. I'm managing it. She's fine. She's loyal. She won't go anywhere. That last line hit Adora like a slap. She's loyal. She won't go anywhere. Like she was not a person. Like she was a chair in his office. Adora stepped back slowly. Her breath came out short. Her stomach twisted hard. It felt like the floor had shifted under her. She stood there, staring at the crack of the door, hearing Miho speak like she was not human, and all she could think was, so this is why. This was why she never made the list. This was why her work was praised, but her name was never pushed forward. This was why every promotion season ended in silence. Because the man who held her at night and called her superstar was also the man holding her down in the daytime. Adora turned away before her knees gave out. She walked quickly down the hall, but the hallway felt longer than usual. Her palms were sweaty. Her heart was pounding like she had been running. When she got back to her desk, she sat down so fast her chair rolled back a little. She tried to breathe. In. Out. But her body refused to calm down. Her hands were shaking. Her phone buzzed. Adora looked down and saw Miho's name. For a second, she almost threw the phone away. Then she opened it. Miho, still at the office. Running late. Don't worry, I'll make it up to you. Adora stared at the message and felt something inside her break quietly. Not loudly. Not with drama. Just a clean, painful crack. She put the phone down. She looked at her computer screen, but she couldn't see it anymore. All she could see was that half-open door. All she could hear was Miho saying, I need her to stay under me. Adora swallowed hard. This was not stress. This was not misunderstanding. This was betrayal with a calm voice. And now that she knew, she couldn't unknow it. She stood up again, slowly this time, like she was standing up from a life she had lived for 2 years. Her dinner reservation didn't matter. Her relationship didn't matter. Only one thing mattered now. Adora had to get out. And she had to do it without begging anyone for permission. Adora did not go to dinner. She left the office in silence, got home, and sat on the couch with her phone face down beside her. The apartment felt like a lie she had been living in. Every item in the room looked normal, but nothing inside her felt normal anymore. She didn't cry right away. She didn't even move much. She only waited, because she needed to see Miho's face when he walked in. She needed to hear how his voice would sound when he tried to act like everything was fine. Time passed. Then the door opened. Miho walked in like nothing happened. He loosened his tie, dropped his keys, and gave her a smile that used to melt her. Hey, he said gently. You're quiet. Adora stared at him. Her heart was beating hard, but her face stayed calm. She had already spent all her tears in her mind on the way home. Miho walked closer. I'm sorry about dinner. Today was crazy. HR kept me longer than I expected. He said HR like it was a normal word. Adora's mouth tightened. HR kept you? Miho nodded. Work stuff. Adora stood up slowly. She didn't rush. She didn't shout. She didn't throw anything. Her voice came out steady, almost too steady. You held me back, she said. Miho paused, confusion on his face. What? I heard you, Adora added. I heard you with HR. The air changed. For a second, Miho's eyes widened like he forgot how to blink. Then his face shifted, fast, into something controlled. Adora, he started, stepping closer like he wanted to calm her down before she could fully speak. She lifted her hand slightly, not as a threat, just as a stop sign. Don't. Miho swallowed. What did you hear exactly? Enough, Adora said. You said I'm good, but you can't promote me. You said it complicates things if I move up. You said you need me to stay under you. Miho's face went pale for one short moment. Then he forced a small laugh, like he could laugh his way out of it. It's not like that, he said. You're taking it the wrong way. Adora's eyes burned. Don't lie to me. Miho moved closer again, soft voice, smooth tone. I'm not lying. Adora, you don't understand how these things work here. Office politics is not simple. Timing matters. My position matters too. The board watches everything I do. If I push you too fast, they'll talk. They'll say it's favoritism. They'll say I'm emotionally involved. Adora stared at him. And that is my problem? Miho's brows pulled together, like he was the one being wronged. I'm trying to protect you. Adora let out a bitter sound, not a laugh, not a sob. Protect me by blocking me? Miho reached for her hand. Adora, listen. She pulled away immediately, like his touch was hot. For 2 years, Adora said, voice shaking now. I worked like my life depended on it. I brought in results. I saved accounts. I carried teams that didn't even respect me. And you were the one cutting my name off the list. Miho's voice rose slightly, frustrated. I didn't cut your name off. You said it, Adora snapped, and this time her tears came. One slipped down her cheek, then another. You said you kept me off the short list. Those were your words. Miho looked away for a second, jaw tight, then looked back like he was ready to fight for his excuse. Okay, he said. Yes, I may have delayed it, but not forever. Just for now. Adora, you don't get it. If you rise too fast, people will destroy you here. They will reduce you to gossip. They will say you slept your way up. Adora wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. So your solution is to keep me small? It's not keeping you small, Miho argued. It's keeping you safe. No, Adora said, voice low but firm. It's keeping you comfortable. Miho's eyes flashed. That's not fair. Adora nodded slowly, tears still falling, but her mind was already clear. It is fair, she said, because you didn't even ask me what I wanted. You decided for me. You made my future your private plan. Miho stepped closer again, softer now, trying to switch back to love. Adora, please. We can fix this. Don't throw away what we have. I love you. Adora's chest tightened at the word love. Not because she believed it, but because she remembered how much she once did. You love the version of me that stays under you, she whispered. Miho's mouth opened, then closed. Adora turned away from him and walked into the bedroom. Miho followed. What are you doing? Adora opened the wardrobe and pulled out a suitcase. I'm leaving. His voice sharpened. You're being dramatic. Adora looked at him, eyes red, face wet. No, I'm being awake. She packed fast. Not everything, just what mattered. Clothes. Documents. Laptop. Passport. The things you grab when you know you may not come back. Miho stood by the door watching her like he couldn't believe he was losing control. Where will you go? He asked. Adora zipped the suitcase. Anywhere you are not. The next morning, Adora walked into HR with a calm face and a tired heart. I want to transfer, she said. The HR officer looked surprised. Adora. I don't care where, Adora cut in. Any department. Any branch. Anywhere but under Miho. Silence. Then the HR officer sighed, like she had been waiting for this day. We actually have something, she said. It's not small. It's in the top division office in Seoul. Direct work with senior leadership. Faster pace. Higher standards. Adora didn't blink. I'll take it. The HR officer nodded. You'll start next week. Adora walked out of the HR office feeling shaky, but lighter. Miho thought she was loyal. Miho thought she wouldn't go anywhere. But Adora was already gone. Not from the city. Not from Seoul. From his control. Adora didn't tell many people about the transfer. She didn't celebrate it online. She didn't post new beginnings, or take pictures in front of a building to prove she was moving up. She just packed her life into quiet boxes, signed the papers, and left Miho behind like a chapter she refused to reread. A week later, she walked into her new workplace. Hanul Group. The name alone carried weight in Seoul. Even people who didn't know business knew Hanul. Big deals. Big money. Big power. The kind of place where people spoke carefully because one mistake could end careers. Adora held her bag tight and kept her face calm. Inside, she felt like she was stepping into fire on purpose. At reception, a woman greeted her with a practiced smile. Miss Okoye? She asked. Yes, Adora answered. The woman checked a tablet. Welcome. Your access card is ready. Mr. Kong will see you at 9 a.m. sharp. Adora blinked once. Mr. Kong. The receptionist nodded like it was normal to say the name of someone feared. CEO Jun Kong. Adora's throat tightened. She had heard the name. Everybody in corporate Seoul had. Jun Kong was not just a CEO. He was the CEO people used as an example when they wanted to scare staff into working harder. He doesn't smile. He doesn't forgive mistakes. He fires people with one sentence. That was what people said. Adora had never met him. She had only seen him once on a business broadcast months ago. He sat on a panel like a man who didn't need anyone's approval. He barely moved his face. He spoke like every word was chosen for a reason. Now, she was about to work under him. Adora nodded slowly. Okay. She collected her card and moved toward the elevator. Before she could step fully inside, a woman approached her fast, wearing a headset and holding a tablet like it was part of her body. Miss Okoye, the woman said. I'm Sora. I'm the executive assistant. Adora gave a polite bow. Nice to meet you. Sora didn't waste time with small talk. Your first meeting is in 5 minutes, she said. Word of advice, Mr. Kong doesn't like being kept waiting. He doesn't like being interrupted. And he doesn't like being contradicted. Adora paused. So, I should just agree with everything. Sora looked at her like the question was innocent but dangerous. You should be smart. Then Sora turned and walked away like she had delivered a warning, and that was enough. Adora stepped into the elevator and watched the numbers rise. Her heart was beating, but she forced her shoulders to stay relaxed. She reminded herself why she was here. Not for comfort. For growth. When the doors opened, Adora followed the signs to the executive area. Another staff member guided her to a clean hallway and stopped at a large door. Go in, the staff member said softly. Adora's hand touched the handle. For a second, her mind went back to Miho's voice behind that half-open door. I need her to stay under me. Adora swallowed. Not again. She opened the door and stepped in. The office was quiet. A man stood behind a desk, looking at a screen. He didn't rise when she entered. He didn't smile. He didn't pretend to be friendly. He just lifted his eyes and looked at her like he was measuring something. Adora Okoye, he said, voice calm and low. Sit. It wasn't rude. It was simply firm. The kind of voice that didn't ask twice. Adora sat down. Yes, sir. Jun Kong leaned back slightly, still studying her. He looked younger than she expected, early to mid-30s, sharp face, clean haircut, calm eyes that didn't show much emotion. He tapped something on his screen. I reviewed your portfolio, he said. Adora stayed still. Okay. Your numbers are strong, Jun continued. Your campaign work is consistent. Clear thinking. Good structure. Adora waited. Praise from men like this always came with a knife behind it. Jun's eyes stayed on her. So one thing is curious. Adora lifted her chin slightly. What is it, sir? You weren't promoted, Jun said, like he was stating a fact, not asking a question. Heat rose in Adora's face. She controlled it quickly. No, I wasn't. Jun's gaze did not soften. That means one of two things, he said. Either your former department was incompetent. He paused. Or they were threatened. Adora's fingers curled lightly on her lap. She didn't speak. Jun leaned forward a little. Either way, it won't happen here. Adora's heart kicked. She didn't want to trust the sentence, but she couldn't ignore it either. Jun continued, voice steady. You will work under me directly. Adora blinked. Directly? Jun spoke again before she could ask. I don't tolerate excuses. I don't tolerate wasted time. I expect results. He paused and watched her face. Any problems with that? Adora heard Miho again in her head. You don't understand the pressure. Adora looked at Jun and chose her words carefully. No, sir, she said. No problems. Jun nodded once. Not approval. Not kindness. Just a simple signal that he heard her. Good, he said. Then we start today. Adora stood up when he stood up. Her legs felt steady, even though her stomach was tight. Jun walked toward the door and opened it, like the meeting was done. As Adora stepped out, she realized something. Miho had kept her under him to feel safe. Jun was pulling her close to test her. Both were dangerous, but only one felt like a chance. Adora walked down the hallway with her head high. She didn't know what Jun Kong would do to her life. But she knew one thing. She would not be small here. Adora started that same day. No warm welcome. No, take your time to settle in. No soft onboarding. Before she even finished setting her bag down, Sora dropped a tablet on her desk with a list of tasks. Mr. Kong wants these before lunch, Sora said. Adora glanced at the list. It wasn't small work. It was the kind of work people usually shared across a team. She looked up. Before lunch, she asked. Sora gave a thin smile. Yes. And don't send drafts. He wants final. Then Sora walked away. Adora stared at the screen for 2 seconds, then pulled her chair in and started. She told herself not to panic. She had survived Miho. She had survived being invisible. She could survive a hard CEO. But Jun Kong was not like any boss she had seen. He didn't lead with noise. He led with pressure. The first time Adora presented her work, she had arranged her points neatly, confident she had covered everything. She finished, waited for a response, and watched Jun's eyes move from her face to the page like he was searching for cracks. He didn't say good job. He didn't say nice effort. He said, this line is weak. Adora blinked. Which line, sir? Jun tapped the page once. This one. It sounds like fear. Remove it. Adora swallowed. Okay. Then he turned to the next part. The numbers are fine, but you didn't show risk control. Add it. Yes, sir. He pointed again. This design has no punch. Fix it. Adora held her calm face like armor. I will. Jun looked at her for a long moment. Don't waste my time with mediocrity. That was the meeting. He dismissed her like a file he had already decided to revise. Adora walked out with her face steady and her heart burning. Not because he was insulting her. She had heard worse. She had worked under worse. But Jun's feedback was different. It was clean. Sharp. Straight to the bone. No emotion. No comfort. It was almost like he didn't care if she broke. And somehow, that scared her more than shouting ever could. The next day, she came early. Not to impress him. To protect herself. If he was going to cut her work apart, she would make sure there was less for him to cut. She arrived before most staff. She reviewed yesterday's notes, cleaned her draft, and built a stronger plan. She didn't wait for anyone's help. She didn't ask for an extra day. She treated the job like a fight she had to win quietly. By the end of the first week, Adora had a new routine. She came in early. She stayed late. She checked everything twice. Then 3 times. She corrected spacing. She adjusted wording. She reran numbers even when she knew they were right. She started catching mistakes before anyone else could point them out. It wasn't because she loved stress. It was because she didn't want to give Jun a reason to call her average. One evening, she was still working when Sora passed by. You're still here, Sora said, looking surprised. Adora didn't look up. Yes. Sora hesitated, then spoke like she was warning her as a human being, not as an assistant. Just don't burn out, she said. Adora finally looked up. Is that even possible here? Sora didn't answer. She just walked away. Adora started to notice things. Jun was not kind, but he was not unfair. He didn't play favorites. He didn't laugh with some people and crush others. If a senior manager brought weak ideas, Jun shut it down the same way he shut down juniors. If someone tried to explain mistakes with long stories, he cut them off. Fix it was his favorite line. Not why did you do it? Not what happened. Just fix it. At first, Adora hated him for it. She thought, does this man have a heart? Then she started noticing another thing. Jun noticed everything. Not only mistakes. Also effort. If Adora corrected a problem before it became a fire, he didn't clap for her, but he stopped repeating that same warning again. If she improved a draft, he didn't smile, but he moved on faster. If she delivered a clean report, he didn't praise, but he didn't tear it apart either. His silence became the only well done he ever gave. That was when Adora began to learn him. She watched his patterns. If he asked only one question, it meant he was okay. If he asked 5 questions, he saw risk. If he went quiet and stared at the screen too long, something was missing. If he tapped his pen, he was already planning a correction. Adora began reading the room without anyone teaching her. She learned to speak in clear sentences. She learned not to add extra words. She learned not to beg for approval. And slowly, without meaning to, she started matching him. Not his coldness. His focus. It annoyed her how disciplined he was. He didn't waste minutes. He didn't do fake office jokes. He didn't pretend. Even when people tried to flatter him, he acted like he didn't hear it. But the more Adora worked under him, the more she felt something strange. Respect. Not the soft kind. The hard kind. The kind that comes when you watch someone operate at a level that forces you to rise or fall. One night, Adora was leaving later than she wanted. She walked past the executive hallway and saw Jun's door slightly open. He was still inside. No assistants. No staff. Just him, working like the building belonged to him. Adora paused for 1 second. She didn't like him. Not yet. But she couldn't deny it. There was something addictive about the way he moved through work like nothing could shake him. And the most dangerous part? A small part of her wanted to prove she could stand beside that kind of man without shrinking. Adora walked away, breathing slow. She had come to Hanul Group to start over. But she was starting to understand the truth. This place would not just change her job. It would change her. By the end of the second week, Adora had stopped counting hours. She only counted tasks. Fix this. Rewrite that. Adjust the numbers. Prepare the deck. Confirm the strategy. Make it clean. Make it sharp. Make it impossible to dismiss. That night, the office lights were still on, but most desks were empty. Adora sat alone with a marker in her hand, standing in front of the strategy board like she was arguing with it. She had already rewritten the main message twice. It still didn't feel right. She capped the marker, uncapped it again, and wrote a new line. Then a voice came from behind her. Still here? Adora turned so fast her heart jumped. Jun Kong stood at the doorway. His suit jacket was off. His sleeves were rolled up. He looked less like a CEO for the first time, and more like a man who simply refused to rest. Adora cleared her throat. Yes, sir. June stepped inside, eyes moving from the board to her laptop and back. Why? He asked, like it was a real question. Adora hesitated. With Miho, she would have softened her words. With June, soft words felt useless. I want the pitch to land, she said. Tomorrow matters. June stared at the board again. You already submitted a version. Yes, Adora said. But it's not strong enough. June paused, then walked closer without saying anything. He picked up another marker from the tray and studied what she had written. Adora held her breath. She expected him to cut it down the way he always did. Instead, he raised the marker and started writing beside her lines. No speech. No insults. No lecture. Just corrections. He drew an arrow, crossed out a phrase, rewrote the headline in fewer words, then added one simple line under the numbers. He moved like someone who didn't need permission to improve anything. Adora watched quietly, then stepped closer and added her own point underneath his. June didn't stop her. He didn't say, "Who asked you?" He just read it, then adjusted one word. Adora's eyes narrowed. That word changes the tone. June looked at her. Exactly. She blinked, surprised he answered like they were equals in that moment. They kept working. No jokes. No flirting. No, how was your day? Just ideas moving fast between them. Adora wrote one angle. June tightened it. June wrote a line. Adora strengthened it. Their focus met in the middle like a quiet fight that turned into teamwork. At some point, June held out the marker toward her without looking. Adora reached for it, and their fingers brushed. It was small. It was nothing. It lasted less than a second. But Adora felt it like electricity. She froze with the marker half in her hand. June didn't react. He didn't pull away quickly or hold her longer. He just released the marker and stepped back like it never happened. He looked at the board one last time, then nodded slightly. Better, he said. Adora's throat went dry. Thank you, sir. June's eyes stayed on her for a moment. Not soft. Not warm. Just steady. Don't try to please me, he said. Adora frowned a little. Sir? June's voice dropped lower, calm but firm. Just impress me. Then he turned and walked out, leaving Adora alone with a marker in her hand and a heartbeat that would not slow down. She stood there for a full minute after he left, staring at the board like the words had changed shape. Her fingers still tingled. She shook her head once, like she was clearing smoke from her mind. Focus, Adora. Focus. But even when she sat down and opened her laptop, her mind kept replaying his voice. Just impress me. The next week, the pitch went well. The client liked the direction. The team moved fast. Adora felt the results coming together in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Then came the strategy meeting that mattered most. Adora walked into the room with the rest of the team. Managers were seated. Heads were bowed over tablets. People spoke in careful tones, the way they always did when June was present. June entered and the room tightened. He took his seat and started the meeting without greetings. He laid out the campaign plan, clean and direct. People nodded as he spoke, even before he finished explaining, like agreement was a reflex. Adora listened closely. The plan was good, but there was a gap, a big one, and Adora saw it clearly. Her heart started beating hard again, but this time it wasn't because of a brush of fingers. It was fear. Not fear of being wrong. Fear of speaking up in a room where nobody spoke up. June finished and looked around. Questions? Silence. The kind of silence that meant, we don't challenge you. Adora's mouth opened, then closed. Her mind flashed to Miho and how he used politics as a chain. Then her mind flashed to June, writing beside her on the board like her ideas mattered. Adora raised her hand slightly, not like a student, but like a professional claiming space. Actually, she said, voice steady, I disagree. The room went dead. Every head turned. Adora felt the weight of their eyes like stones, but she didn't shrink. June's brows lifted just a little. Elaborate. Adora took a breath. Your plan will work for the current audience, she said, but it won't pull the younger market. The message is too controlled. They'll scroll past it. Silence. Adora continued, careful and clear. If we shift the structure, change the opening hook, and let the story lead before the product, we'll increase engagement. The data from the last quarter already supports it. One manager looked like he wanted to disappear. Another looked angry on June's behalf. But Adora kept her voice calm. I'm not saying your strategy is wrong, she added. I'm saying it can be stronger. June stared at her for a long moment. Then he gave one slow nod. Execute your version, he said. Let's see if it works. Adora's lungs released the breath she had been holding. The room stayed silent, but the silence had changed. It wasn't fear anymore. It was shock. Because in that room, Adora had done what nobody did. She had challenged the CEO. And the CEO had listened. After that meeting, Adora noticed the shift immediately. Not in big ways. Not in obvious gestures. June didn't suddenly become friendly. He didn't start calling her by cute names or smiling at her in hallways. He stayed the same, sharp, quiet, demanding. But the air between them changed. In meetings, he asked Adora more questions than before. Not to embarrass her. To test her mind. He listened longer when she spoke. His eyes stayed on her face like he was reading more than her words. And Adora stopped tiptoeing. She still respected his position, but she no longer feared his shadow. She spoke when something didn't make sense. She defended her choices with facts. She didn't soften her opinions just to keep peace. People noticed. They didn't say it openly, but Adora could feel it in the way conversations paused when she entered rooms. She could feel it in the way some managers watched her like she was doing something dangerous. Because she was. She was getting close to the CEO. Not physically, mentally. And that kind of closeness was rare. Over the next weeks, tension grew between them like a tight rope pulled from both ends. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't anger. It was something that stayed under the surface and refused to die. Sometimes Adora caught June watching her when he thought she wouldn't notice. Not like a man staring at a woman's body. More like a man trying to solve a problem he didn't want to admit existed. She tried to ignore it. She told herself it was nothing. He watched everyone. He was a CEO. He studied people. But there were moments that felt too personal to excuse. Like the time she delivered a revised deck and he said nothing, yet his eyes lingered on her hands for 1 second too long before he looked away. Or the time she corrected a manager mid-meeting and June didn't stop her. He just watched her with a look that wasn't anger. It looked like interest. Adora hated that her body reacted before her mind could control it. She hated that her heart would jump for a second, then she would force it back down like a bad habit. She had promised herself one thing after Miho. No more mixing work and feelings. No more getting trapped under a man's power. No more becoming the woman people talked about instead of the woman they respected. So she stayed disciplined. Until the late evening the client changed everything. It happened fast. A message came in urgent and short. New specs, new direction, new demands. The presentation was the next morning. The team had already gone home. The office floor was quiet. Adora looked at the screen and felt her stomach drop. She could have sent it to the team group chat. She could have asked for help. But she didn't. She stayed. Because if she failed, nobody would remember her excuses. They would remember her mistake. Adora rolled up her sleeves, reopened the files, and started rebuilding. Hours passed. Her eyes burned. Her back ached. Still, she kept going. She didn't notice the door open until she heard footsteps. Adora looked up and saw June. He walked in with no jacket, no tie, looking like he had been working too. He stopped a few steps away and looked at the screen. "You're still here," he said. Adora's voice came out calm but tired. The client changed specs. June didn't ask why she didn't call anyone. He already knew the answer. He looked at the draft for a moment, then at her. "You could have left it for tomorrow." Adora shook her head. "Tomorrow is too late." June stared at her like he was measuring her again, but this time it felt less like judgment and more like curiosity. "You're not what I expected," he said. Adora blinked. "What did you expect?" June's mouth moved like he wanted to answer, then he stopped. He didn't like useless words. He walked closer and leaned slightly, scanning her work. "Most people want to be liked," he said. Adora gave a small, tired smile. "I stopped needing that a long time ago." June's eyes lifted. "Why?" Adora's throat tightened. Her first instinct was to lie. To say something simple. To keep her past locked away. But she was tired, and something about the quiet room made honesty feel easier than acting. "Because I trusted someone at my old job," she said slowly. "And he used it to control things." June's face didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. "A boss?" Adora nodded once. "Yes." She didn't say Miho's name. She didn't say boyfriend. She didn't say sabotage. But the words carried enough truth to make her chest ache. June stood still for a moment, then spoke quietly. "I've been called cold." Adora watched him. "I've heard." His lips curved slightly. It wasn't a smile. It was something close. "Obsession." "Difficult," he added. Adora replied without thinking. "Also true." That time, his eyes held hers longer. "But I'm not dishonest," he said. "When I want something, I don't lie about it." Adora's heart thumped. She tried to keep her face calm. "Is this still a work conversation?" June's gaze didn't move. Not quite. Silence filled the space between them. Adora could hear her own breathing. She hated how aware she suddenly was, of his presence, of the distance between them, of the fact that nobody else was there. June stepped closer, just enough to shift the air. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said, voice low and steady, like he hated admitting it but refused to pretend. Adora's mind screamed danger. She swallowed. "I came here to start over," she said. "Not to get involved with another boss." June didn't flinch. "You're not a distraction," he replied immediately. Adora's eyes stung. "You don't even know me." June's voice softened just slightly. "I know enough." Adora shook her head, trying to stay strong. "I won't be temporary." June paused, then said it like a promise, not a line. "You aren't temporary." For a second, Adora thought he would touch her. His hand lifted slightly, like he considered it. Then he stopped. He stepped back instead, slow and controlled, like a man choosing restraint on purpose. "I'll see you tomorrow," he said, voice a little rougher than before. Then he turned and walked out. The door closed softly behind him. Adora stared at the screen, but she wasn't seeing the work anymore. Her heart was beating too fast. Because this was not like Miho. Miho wanted her under him. June was looking at her like he wanted her beside him. And Adora didn't know which was more dangerous. After that late night in the office, Adora tried to return to normal. She told herself it was just stress. Just long hours. Just two people working too close for too long. But normal did not come back. June's words stayed in her head during meetings. "I can't stop thinking about you." And even though he didn't repeat it again, Adora felt it in the way he watched her during presentations, in the way he paused when she spoke, like he was listening to more than strategy. She kept her distance. She kept her face neutral. She kept her voice professional. Still, people were not blind. By the time the company retreat was announced, the whispers had already started. Not loud whispers. Not direct accusations. Just small comments that followed her like shadow. "That Nigerian strategist, she's the one working directly under Mr. Kong. He never lets anyone that close. Either she's a genius, or she knows how to play." Adora heard it once and pretended she didn't. She heard it again and kept walking. She had learned from Miho what people could do with rumors. She didn't want a new story built around her name. On the day of the retreat, Adora arrived with the executive group like every other staff member. She wore a clean outfit, kept her face calm, and moved like she belonged there. She did not look for June. She did not chase eye contact. But she still felt him. Because even when she wasn't looking, she could sense when he entered a space. It was not magic. It was power. It changed the mood of people around him. During the retreat activities, Adora stayed focused. She joined when she had to. She smiled when it was polite. She didn't drink too much. She didn't get loud. She didn't give anyone a reason to remember her for the wrong thing. At dinner, she sat with department leads and listened more than she spoke. Someone told a small office story that made the table laugh, and Adora laughed too, softly, carefully. Then she heard a chair move beside her. A voice calm and direct. "Adora." Her heart jumped once. She turned. June stood there. He didn't ask if he could sit. He didn't pretend this was casual. He simply looked at her like he had already decided. "Walk with me," he said. The table went quiet. Nobody spoke. Nobody asked questions. But Adora felt their eyes land on her like heat. She stood up slowly. "Okay, sir." June turned and started walking, and Adora followed. She could feel the attention behind her even though she didn't look back. They walked without speaking at first. Adora's mind ran fast. This is not smart. People are watching. They will talk. But another part of her was tired of fear. Tired of acting like she had to shrink to survive. June stopped after some minutes and looked at her. "You're tense." Adora tried to sound light. "Retreats do that to me." June's face didn't change. "Not the retreat." Adora's throat tightened. She didn't answer. June looked away for a moment, then back at her. "I don't usually do this," he said. "Do what?" Adora asked. "Let someone get close," June replied. The words landed heavy. Adora breathed in slowly. "Then why me?" June didn't answer quickly. For the first time, he looked like he was choosing honesty carefully, like it cost him something. Adora pushed gently, because she needed to hear it clearly. "You've worked with people longer than me," she said. "People with more experience. Safer choices." June's eyes stayed on her. "Because you challenge me," he said. "Because you don't need me." Adora's heart thumped. She tried to hold her face steady. "I work for you." June's voice stayed calm. "That's not what I mean." He stepped a little closer, but not too close. He kept space, like he was giving her control. "You don't beg," he continued. "You don't flatter. You don't fear me the way everyone else does. You're here to build yourself, not to collect my approval." Adora swallowed hard. It was true, and hearing it from him made her feel exposed. June's eyes softened just a little. "I don't know how to deal with that," he admitted. Adora's voice came out low. "I didn't come to Hanol Group for romance." "I know," June said. They stood in silence for a moment. Adora's mind moved between warning and desire, between the pain of her past and the pull of the present. Then June spoke again, slow and clear. "You can leave," he said. "You can walk away, and I'll never bring this up again." Adora blinked. "Just like that?" "Yes," June said. "If you want safety, take it." Adora's chest rose and fell. She respected him for the offer. But she also hated that he was right. This was dangerous. Adora lifted her chin. "I'm not playing games either," she said. June held her gaze. "Good." He moved slowly, raising his hand toward her face. Not fast. Not claiming. Careful. His fingertips touched her cheek lightly, like he was asking without words. Adora's body went still. He waited. He gave her time to pull away. Adora didn't. She stayed. June leaned in and kissed her. Slow. Real. Not rushed, not hungry, not careless. It felt like two people who had been holding themselves back for weeks, finally telling the truth without speaking. When they broke apart, Adora's breath was uneven. June's forehead rested lightly near hers for one moment. "This changes everything," he whispered. Adora didn't answer, because she didn't trust her voice. After that night, they didn't become loud lovers. They didn't act like teenagers. They stayed careful. But small things changed. June's voice softened when he spoke to her alone. He trusted her with decisions he usually kept to himself. He looked for her in meetings without making it obvious. And Adora worked even harder, like she was trying to protect her name from what the world would assume. Then her campaign launched. The one she fought for in that boardroom. And it exploded. The results came fast and loud. People who ignored her before started using her name with respect. But respect didn't come alone. It came with envy. And envy always brings questions. She rose too fast. She's always with Mr. Kong. Maybe she's talented. A pause. Or maybe she's just close. Adora heard the whispers again, and this time she knew. The fire had already started. It was only waiting for something small to become a big scandal. The gossip post dropped on a Thursday morning. It wasn't posted on any official news site. It was one of those business blogs people pretended not to read, but still checked every day. The headline was sharp and wicked. Hanol Group CEO's new favorite, talent, or something else? Adora saw it while sitting alone with a coffee she couldn't taste. Her fingers tightened around the cup as she scrolled. The post didn't have proof. It didn't need proof. It had hints. It had one blurry picture from the retreat. It had a question that was written like an accusation. Is Adora Okoye rising on merit or on closeness to power? Her stomach twisted. The worst part was not the post itself. The worst part was what it would become. Adora's mind raced. What will June do? Will he deny me? Will he act like I never mattered? Will he let them drag me to save the company? By the time she reached the office, the mood had changed. People were still working, still typing, still smiling politely, but their eyes were louder than their mouths. Adora could feel it. She walked into the boardroom for the strategy summit with her head high, even though her chest felt tight. June was already there when she entered. He looked up, met her eyes for a split second, then looked away. No warmth. No silent signal. Nothing. Adora, he said, voice flat and formal. Begin with the acquisition pitch. The words were normal. The tone was not. Adora felt a sting in her chest that surprised her. She had prepared herself for the world's noise, but she wasn't ready for his cold distance. Still, she delivered the pitch perfectly. Her voice didn't shake. Her slides flowed. Her answers were sharp. She spoke like a woman who belonged there, not like someone begging to be accepted. The meeting ended. People stood and left in groups, whispering low. Adora waited. June didn't call her. He didn't stop her. He didn't send a message. Nothing. That silence followed her the whole day. She checked her phone too many times. She sat through tasks like her mind wasn't fully present. And when evening came, she couldn't take it anymore. She walked to June's office and opened the door without knocking. He was inside, standing near the window, looking like a man trying to hold himself together without showing it. He turned slowly when he heard her. Adora didn't sit. She didn't greet. She didn't soften her voice. Say something, she whispered. June's jaw tightened. He exhaled. I had to let it play out today. Adora stared at him. No, I don't understand silence. I don't understand you acting like I'm just a staff file. If I reacted, June said, it would get worse. You said I wasn't temporary, Adora replied, eyes shining. You said you weren't playing games. But now that people are watching, you want me to stand in fire alone. I'm protecting you, June said. Adora's laugh was short and bitter. No, you're protecting yourself. June stepped forward. If I stand beside you publicly, they'll say everything you earned is because of me. Every headline will become about us, not your work. Adora swallowed hard. Then what do we do? June paused. And that pause said everything. Adora nodded slowly, stepping back like she was walking away from something she wanted but could not trust. I fought too hard to be seen, she said. I won't disappear for you. She walked out. By midweek, the gossip post spread wider. Other sites picked it up. People rewrote it into worse headlines. Comments turned cruel. She slept her way up. CEO's girlfriend got promoted. Pretty face, fake talent. Adora felt sick reading it, but she still went to work. She still did her job. She still tried to hold her name steady. Then HR sent an email. Subject: Inquiry regarding ethical boundaries and internal conduct. Adora sat across from HR and legal, answering questions that sounded polite but carried poison. Did Mr. Kong ever offer you favors? Did you receive opportunities others didn't? Would you say the relationship is purely professional? Adora kept her voice steady. I earned every success. But the room didn't feel like it was built to believe her. She left that meeting feeling smaller than she had felt in years. And June disappeared. Not fully, but enough. 3 days passed with no private word. No comfort. No plan. Just distance. Adora stopped making excuses for him. She stopped hoping the silence was strategy. She printed her resignation letter. Not because she was guilty. Because she was done. She walked into June's office again. This time, her hands were steady. I'm resigning, she said. Effective immediately. June's eyes flashed. Don't. I have to, Adora replied. My work became a rumor because you let silence speak for you. June stepped closer. If I speak now, it confirms the story. Adora's voice cracked, but she didn't let tears fall. The story is already confirmed in their minds. At least I won't stay where I'm not defended. She placed the envelope on his desk. I'm done letting men decide how high I'm allowed to rise, she said. Then she left. In another Seoul office, Miho read the headlines with a tight smile. He forwarded the link to board members with one line. FYI, conflict of interest. He thought he had won again. 2 weeks passed. Then Hanul Group sent a press invite. People came expecting drama. June walked onto the stage alone. He spoke clearly. 2 weeks ago, Adora Okoye resigned amid unethical speculation and gendered attacks. Her integrity was questioned. Her success was undermined. And I stayed silent. He paused. Silence is not neutral. It is complicity. The room went still. June continued. Adora's results were earned. Every campaign, every metric, every win, she did it. The system attacked her because she rose. He looked straight ahead. I was wrong to think stepping back would protect her. What she deserved was partnership. Then he dropped the final news. Hanol Group is launching a new innovation unit, he said. Led by Adora Okoye as executive partner. On her terms. Adora watched the clip later, alone, shocked and quiet. 3 days after, she returned. Not as someone's assistant, not as someone's secret, but as the owner of her work. June came to her new office privately. No cameras. No staff. I won't stand behind you, he said. I won't stand in front of you. Adora's voice was soft, firm. Stand with me. June nodded. That's what I want. This time, when they kissed, it wasn't reckless. It was earned. And Adora's name finally meant one thing in Seoul. Not someone's lover. Not someone's story. But her own. And that's where we'll pause, because Adora has no idea the storm is already moving toward her. And the same people smiling in her face are the ones ready to twist her name into a scandal. One wrong step, one leaked detail, one silent decision from the man at the top, and everything she rebuilt in Seoul could crash overnight. So tell me, should Adora trust June Kong, or protect her heart and run before history repeats itself? Hey family, this is Munlet Stories. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to help us grow, and tell us which country you're watching from in the comments.